Just waiting a second as I see people filing in on the attendee list here. It's wonderful to see so many people already joining us before we even get started. Good morning. Okay, Boker Tov. I'm Rabbi Shaner. I'm here with Temple Sinai, ready to greet this day with you together, and looking forward to spending this time together as our daily opportunity to connect, reflect, and remember. And so we'll begin this morning in just a few moments, as we do each one of these mornings, with an opportunity to express our gratitude for the gifts that have allowed us to be here, that have allowed us to reach this moment, the gifts of our body and our spirit. And so we will join together in the words of our tradition. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam bechokma, uvaravo nekavim nekavim, chalulim chalulim, galui v'edor lifnei chis'eh vodecha, she'im yipateach echad mehem, o yisatem echad mehem, אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. And we'll read together in the English. Blessed eternal God, creator of the universe, you have fashioned our bodies with wisdom, created within us a finely balanced network. To stand before you in prayer is itself a fragile miracle. Eternal God, we praise you as the healer of body and spirit. And we turn from gratitude for our ability to be here to gratitude for the opportunity that we have to stretch our minds and our hearts together as we study the words of our tradition and learn from them. And so we'll say this blessing together for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu larasok b'divrei Torah. V'ha'arevna Adonai Eloheinu et divrei toratcha b'finu u'b'fi amcha beit Yisrael. V'niyeh anachnu v'tze'etzaenu v'tze'etza'ei amcha beit Yisrael kulanu yod'ei shemecha v'lomdei toratecha lishma. Baruch atah Adonai hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Blessed eternal God, creator of the universe, you sanctify our lives with mitzvot and command us to engage in Torah study. Eternal our God, may your words of Torah be sweet to us, and let every generation, young and old, the whole family of Israel, come to know you through the study of Torah for its own sake. Eternal God, we praise you as the teacher of Torah to the people Israel. So we'll continue with some words of Torah. These words come from the Mishnah, the rabbinic code of law that was compiled orally in the 3rd century. Elu dvarim she'en lahem shi'ur. These are the obligations whose value cannot be measured. They nourish us in this world and help us to create the world to come. Kibud av va'em ugmilut chasadim, והשכמת בית המדרש שחרית וערבית, והכנסת אורחים וביקור חולים, והכנסת כלה ולוויית המת, ועיון תפילה, והבאת שלום בין אדם לחברו, ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם. To honor our fathers and mothers, to perform acts of love and kindness, to attend the house of study morning and evening, to welcome the stranger, to visit the sick, to provide for brides and grooms, and to keep faith with the dead, to pray with sincerity, to make peace where there is strife, and the study of Torah is equal to them all. So we continue with words from our tradition which have stood with us from generation to generation, reminding us that we are part of a larger connected whole, and that everything that exists connects back to a single point, that the eternal God of our people, the eternal God of the world, is one. And so we say these words together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha. Vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha. Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam beshivtecha v'veitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha uksharotam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם emet. The word emet means truth, and we learn truth in so many different ways in our tradition and in life. We learn truth from experience, and we learn truth from texts that have been handed down from generation to generation, and we learn truth from our intuition. But one of the ways that we learn truth that is overlooked is from the form and the basis of language itself, which is the letters of the that form the words that we use in our tradition. And so I have been teaching on this morning stream the lessons of the Hebrew alphabet, the alphabet and the letters and the forms and the order of the letters themselves, those lessons that they have to teach us. And I think that this is important because we often overlook. We think we can skip straight to the words, straight to the texts, often in translation. And really, I think it makes sense to take a step back from that, to look at the forms of the letters and to find meaning in just the sounds and the images that they carry with them into those words. And so we today, not to brag, but one of my favorite sources of truth in my life has been Sesame Street, and so I'm going to do this like Sesame Street. Today has been brought to you by the letter Chet, which is very appropriate, as we're going to find out. So the letter Chet, as you'll see here when I pull it up on the screen, letter Chet comes if we zoom in here on our chart. This is the one that we know, the letter Chet, the eighth letter of the alphabet. But if you look at the pictographs and the ancient Hebrew writing, the letter Chet doesn't look very similar at first glance to the letter Chet that we know and love. It actually looks more like a dividing wall, or in this case, a ladder with rungs. And that's not an accident. The letter chet means, the word chet, in this case, it means an encampment, a boundary. And so the pictograph is a wall. And if we look here, we can see sort of how this has developed over time, that we went from writing it in the ancient Hebrew script as a ladder to the modern day, and the Ketav Ashuri, the Assyrian script, which is the basis of our Torah scroll, comes to look more like the Chet we know and love, which is really three boundaries, not a single dividing wall, but a closed space. And the meaning of that closed space is that we live with boundaries. We live within certain boundaries, and often, if we don't transcend them, there's only one way to go, which is down. And that being closed in like this often can bring us to places we don't want to go. And so it's no coincidence that one of the most famous and important Hebrew words that starts with the letter chet shares the name of the letter. The word chet, which means a sin or a misstep. When we act wrongly, when we sin against one another or against God, we close ourselves off to the experience that we might have had, to the opportunity to do the right thing. And so sometimes the only way to go is down. And that's frustrating. But I want to make a point here that the word chen is also a word that begins with the letter chet. The word chen means favor or grace. And I think that that's why it's no coincidence that the pictograph, the original pictograph depicting the letter chet as a wall, which is written in a horizontal fashion, as you can see here, is flipped in the biblical Hebrew script, in the Ketav Ivri, to look like a ladder with 3 rungs. Because the very same misdeeds that close us in and close us off, when we can learn from them, when we can grow from them, when we can acknowledge them and try to transcend them, they turn that wall, that closed off space, into an opportunity to transcend, to climb up, to keep going. And so we turn that wall onto its side and it becomes a ladder, an opportunity for us to climb to greater heights and to continue to grow. And so it's not an accident that the wall and the ladder in this case are actually the very same thing, the very same letter. That sometimes when we experience something as a boundary, as a point of closure, which can be suffocating, all it takes is turning the problem on its head, turning that wall upside down, and it becomes an opportunity for us to achieve chen, to achieve grace, to climb out of the hole we have dug ourselves into. And so that's why I want to just point out that the letter chet, as it's written in the Torah scroll, is not written with a single letter. It's not written as this closed off space that we see in even in the late Hebrew script, but in this form where we have the letter Vav on one side and the letter Zayin on the other side, and this caret, this point, pointing up. That the letter Chet really is a chance for us to point ourselves in the right direction, rather than sinking down and feeling closed off because of choices we have made in the wrong direction. And the reason that I said that this letter Chet is so appropriate for us today is that today is the 15th day of the month of Av in the Hebrew calendar, the day known as Tu B'Av, a day which we celebrate in Israel as the day of Jewish Valentines, the day of love, but which has very few things in common with secular Valentine's Day. The main reason we call this a day of love is that it was a day which is recorded in our Mishnah as being a day when the 12 tribes of Israel would break the boundaries that held them together and mingle with one another. That is to say, in the time of the Hebrew Bible, apparently, the tribes would only marry within the tribe, but on Tu B'Av they would gather together, and couples would be arranged from across those tribal boundaries. And so when we celebrate Tu B'Av today, we are celebrating the power of Chesed, the power of love, to help us transgress or to transcend the boundaries, the walls that keep our community bounded up, that keep our sense of self bounded up. And that is why I think that this is so important. We don't have to demolish those boundaries in order to transcend them. We just have to keep climbing that ladder. And so with that, I hope that we will turn now with chesed, with a love that transcends the boundaries of our homes, of our closed-off places, and turn that towards those who are most in need right now, those who are in need of healing for their body and for their spirit, whether they are isolated, ill, or working hard to keep the rest of us safe and healthy. And so we offer this prayer of healing from our tradition. Mi sheberach avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov, ve'imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah veRachel, hu yerape et kol makotenu. V'hi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu lacha limam u'rapotam, v'yishlach lanu mehera refuah shlema ve'ateret shalom. V'tagen aleinu mimachala ra'a v'nomar Amen. May the one who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and our mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel, heal all who suffer. And may it be your will to provide healing and strength, to reveal to us the holiness of life and the wholeness of shalom, and to guard us from all illness. As we say together, Amen. We've come to the moment of this morning where we turn our thoughts to those who have guided us and shaped us and helped us become who we are, but who are no longer with us. And so this morning, the 15th of Av, we think of those who have died in recent days and weeks. Alan Fridson, Rose Rich, Benjamin Fruitman, Judy Gabay, Helene Frankie Springer, Margot Grossbean, Rabbi Mark Shapiro, Jane Siegel, Bella Yakubovich, Edith Grossman, and Terry Fern Rossman, as well as those who died at this time in years past. Together we remember Marion Carr, Sarah Greenberg Ratner, Anne Lerner, Albert Marcel, Faye Tepperman, and Lillian Zimmerman Collins. Zichronam livracha. May their memories always bring us blessing. As we turn towards sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope, the words of Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmeh rabba, be'alma divrach chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizaman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi shmeh rabba mevarach le'alam u'le'alamei alamaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemet tekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'meromav, hu yaraseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who remember. And let us say together, Amen. Well, it's been wonderful to spend this time together this morning, and I look forward to joining you again next week, as well as at our Shabbat services, which begin at 6:30 on Friday evening. Our Shabbat services this week will be followed by a virtual oneg, sponsored by our Connections group and our Renaissance group, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity to see each other face to face through our computer screens and to connect about what's going on in our world. And this Saturday morning, Shabbat morning, as always, begins at 10 a.m., and all of those links can be found on Temple's website, templesinai.net. And so with that, I say Boker Tov, go out and make it a great day.